All right, so we got some good sales data to go through here today with you all. We got the top 20 best-selling games for September 2024, and this is coming from Circana, formerly known as the MPD Group. And I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to list off the top 20 in order, and then we'll kind of break it down bit by bit after we go through the list. So we have EA Sports FC 25 at 1, Astrobot at 2, Madden NFL 25 at 3, The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom at 4, EA Sports College Football 25 at 5, Star Wars Outlaws at 6, NBA 2K25 at 7, Hogwarts Legacy at 8, NHL 25 at 9, God of War Ragnarok at 10, Dead Rising at 11, Final Fantasy, was it 16? Yeah, that's 16. At 12. The PC. Okay, yeah. Right, forgot it came to PC. Elden Ring at 13, Minecraft at 14, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 at 15, Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection at 16, Age of Mythology at 17, Space Marine 2 at 18, Ghost of Tsushima at 19, EA Sports MVP Bundle at 20. So those are the top 20 best-selling games of September 2024. Some interesting tidbits that I found from this list. I think Echoes of Wisdom is probably because Echoes of Wisdom came out on September 26th, so it didn't have quite as much time to generate sales as something like Astrobot that came out on September 6th. But Astrobot is absolutely fucking killing it, man. Astrobot at number 2. And the thing that I am curious about is Space Marine 2 is at 18. And that's kind of shocking to me because it came out early in September. And I remember that there were reports that it had sold like 4.5 million copies in its first month on the market. And that seems bizarre to me that 17 other games would have sold over 4 million copies in September. I don't know. Maybe those 4.5 million sales, maybe that figure is a bit inaccurate. But yeah, I can't see. Like, you have Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection at 16 ahead of Space Marine 2. I don't think Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection sold 5 million copies. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. But even if we're assuming Space Marine 2 sold, let's say 3 million copies, and then you look at Astrobot all the way up at number 2, you know, that you got to assume that it's double, at least double 3 million. So Astrobot's sitting at 6 million copies sold or something like that. That is crazy for a 3D platformer not named Mario in the year 2024. I think that is just really good news. I think it's really good news for PlayStation's future in general, because I know a lot of people were getting burnt out on the slower, kind of more serious, sad dad simulators, the third person over the shoulder games, which, you know, I kind of find myself in the camp where I really I fucking love most of those games, so it never really burned me out personally. But I do know that that was a common complaint for PlayStation, and then you see a game like Astrobot sell, let's just assume 6 million copies or so in its first month on the market. That would lead you to believe that PlayStation will probably try to experiment going forward with more quote-unquote creative IP, and stuff that's not $300 million cinematic blockbusters, which I hope we still do, and I believe we still will get stuff like that, like your Ghost of Yotais and your whatever Naughty Dog is going to come out with, which Naughty Dog, interesting side tangent here, I saw from Ben Hansen from MinMax was talking about people are going to be blown away when they see Naughty Dog's next game, and the game that inspired Naughty Dog's next game. People are going to be shocked to hear what the inspiration was, and I'm assuming probably Elden Ring, because I remember Neil Druckmann was kind of obsessed with like wanting to make The Last of Us 2 a lot like Bloodborne. But yeah, I still hope they keep that pedigree for incredible storytelling, rather it be through cinematics or world building and environmental storytelling. You still do want the cinematic storytelling in there from Naughty Dog. It's like kind of what they're known for at this point. But yeah, regardless, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about here. It's you do see that, and just staying right there for a second with the fighting collection for Marvel vs. Capcom. I like I said, I don't think that sold 3 million, 4 million copies. I could be wrong, but whatever it did sell, for it to even crack the top 20 is a very, very good sign. And I think for people like me who are just sitting there waiting for that Resident Evil classic collection with RE1, RE2, RE3, throw Code Veronica in there, maybe throw you a Dead Aim in there if you really want to pack it out. It'd be cool to see Outbreak, Resident Evil Outbreak thrown in there with some online play available, where you can go through and play through that story mode with a buddy online. Like I think that would be a really cool inclusion. There's some good stuff that they could do with a remastered Resident Evil, or not even a remaster, just a port, a Resident Evil Classic Collection port. I hope that the success of some of Capcom's recent collections will lead us to a Resident Evil collection at some point. But yeah, EA, man. EA is absolutely making money hand over fist right now. They got their soccer game at number 1. They got both their football games in the top 5. They got Madden at 3, college football at 5. And last month, Madden was at number 1. College football was at number 2. And then the EA Sports MVP bundle that included both the games was at number 3. Making so much money right now. Then you look at July, college football was number 1 and the MVP bundle was number 2. So they are raking in the dough over there at that EA Sports division. And yeah, you still see Hogwarts up here dominating, still making some pretty good change. Star Wars Outlaws is this is shocking to me to see it at number 6. I mean, it was at number 3 for August, and it came out late in the month, so it didn't have a ton of time to, generate those sales. And now it's at number 6, so it's not like this drastic decline. And I mean, of course, they wanted it to be number 1 for the month it came out, and I'm sure they would like it to be closer to 3 or 4 opposed to 6. But still, I mean, in the top 10, 2 months back to back, like that's not bad sales. And once again, if you, I feel like something is incorrect here in this Space Marine 2. Like, I don't know if Focus Home, maybe they don't include all of their digital sales or all of their physical sales, or something has to be off there, because I just can't imagine that Star Wars Outlaws sold over 5 million copies in September. Because if that's the case, I wouldn't think Ubisoft would be bitching nearly as much as they're bitching right now and kind of freaking out and delaying Assassin's Creed Shadows and cutting the price of the collector's edition and, doing all of this consumer friendly shit. That would lead me to believe that they are reacting based upon the lack of sales for Star Wars Outlaws. But even, I don't know, number 3 in August, number 6 in September for the top 20 best-selling games. Like, that's just, that's pretty good. That's not bad. I understand it's not what they wanted, but that's just not bad. That's not a drastic decline whatsoever from month 1 to month 2. We've seen way worse than that in the past. So yeah, and I really like that game. So it's the thing too, where you'll see a lot of people who have played Star Wars Outlaws talking really positively about it. And then you'll see a lot of people who it is one of those games where if you play the first 4 or 5 hours, it's a slow burn, man. It is a slow burn, and I definitely understand why people pick it up, jump into it, and end up being like, man, this fucking sucks. This just takes forever to get going. But it does seem like a lot of the people who stuck with it really ended up enjoying that game, and I happen to be one of them. I really liked Star Wars Outlaws a good deal. So I'm happy to see it's not totally, just totally tanking. But yeah, those are really my key takeaways from the top 20 best-selling games of September 2024. Oh, I also should point out with NBA 2K25 being at number 7, they don't account for digital sales. 2K doesn't submit their digital sales to Circana, so this is only accounting for physical. So if it was accounting for digital, it'd probably be, probably number 2 or number 1 for the month of September. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for the sales data. Good stuff there. I love following along with this, and there is a little bit more info here that I saw from Steven Totillo, where from GameFile, where he said fascinating new data from Circana. Series X accounts for 51% of lifetime Xbox Series sales this generation. Series S presumably at 49%. That alone is very, very shocking to me, because the what we heard about for the longest time was that the Series S was dominating the Series X in terms of the percentage split. People were assuming that the Series S was outselling the Series X to a crazy degree, and I feel like that probably was the case early on in the generation, because you're talking about, we had the supply issues early in the pandemic, where the Series X was just constantly sold out, and the Series S, it felt like you could always get one of those things. It never felt like there was a shortage of Series S consoles available. Like, I remember in 2021 just seeing, like, going into stores and actually seeing Series S consoles just sitting there, and you never saw that with PS5 or the Series X. So now, I guess, as things are starting to normalize, people are buying the console that they actually want, opposed to just settling for what's available. And so, yeah, you see Series X taking over that percentage split there at 51%. Really weird spot that Xbox got themselves in with even launching the Series S at all. And then you see 18% of PS5 sales in the US have been the all digital unit, including 40% in September. And then he says huge chunk of current gen gamers without a disc drive, which is definitely true. But I will say 18% of PS5 sales in the US have been the all digital unit. I think that's kind of a good sign for physical gamers, and for, people who, well, for one, people who appreciate physical media, but for two, I think it's a good sign for the PS6 that we'll probably have a disc drive available, at the very least, a detachable disc drive. If you have a console on the market and 80% of people are choosing the model with the disc drive, you know what I mean? Like, I would think you would allow for a disc drive to be in your next console as well. And I wonder about this including 40% in September who went with the all digital unit. September, I could be wrong. I'm terrible with dates, and I'm going off the top of my head, so feel free to correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But that was the PS5 Pro, right? In September? So you could only buy that digitally. And then you could get the detachable just disc drive as an additional purchase, but that wouldn't be accounted into the same sales data because it was sold separately. So if we see this pretty large spike in people buying PS5s digitally, I would assume that that's also accounting for the PS5 Pro, unless this is just base PS5 consoles and not accounting for the PS5 Pro at all, which that would be weird to see such a huge spike in September. A double, pretty much doubling the average of 18% of digital sales to 40% in September. Like, that would make me believe that has to be accounting for the PS5 Pro. And then, we saw the detachable disc drive that was selling out on Amazon because people were buying it in anticipation for the PS5 Pro to be able to have their physical media and to be able to play their games and play their discs on the PS5 Pro. So, but that wouldn't account towards that same sales data. So, yeah, I wonder about that. And once again, I'm going off the fly here, so you can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But that seems like a huge spike in digital sales in September. Like, I feel that something would have to be leading that. Something would have to be pushing that to such a huge degree that's a little bit outside the ordinary. So I would assume that's the PS5 Pro, accounting for the PS5 Pro there, but I could very well be wrong. But yeah, man, appreciate you guys for tuning in. Hit me in the comments down below with any of these stats that were surprising to you. Anything about the sales data, any of the best-selling games, and also if there's something you guys know about the Focus Home situation, about why the hell Space Marine 2 would be at 18 when it sold, when it supposedly sold like 4 million copies in its first month. I'd be curious if y'all have any extra insight into that. But yeah, man, appreciate y'all for tuning in, and I shall see you good people in the next video. Goodbye.